We all know who is going to be beyond busted in 11-18. I'm looking at all you ribbon mains, but these champions get picked and banned all the time. So which champions are still going to be broken and not banned so you can actually play them every game? What's up, GameLeap? The Jizzle back at it, and by the end of today's video, you will know the 3 most low-key broken champions for each role. You will also know the best runes and core items for each pick, and the Jizz is also going to give you a cheeky tip for each one so you don't insta-run it down in your games. Now this video will be timestamped, so if I don't see each and every one of you liking the video, there will be serious consequences. Right, let's get into it, and let's start with the 3 top lane champions. Now the first of these is Urgot, who's getting buffed in 11-18, so your Q's cooldown early on is down by 2 seconds, which is awesome for your poke, for your harass, for your trading, and its mana cost is down as well, so there's going to be less cost for actually using your Q and spamming it. This is a significant change because 2 seconds in the early laning phase means a lot, and for a champion like Urgot who was good without this buff, next patch is definitely going to be low-key broken. Now as you copy down the runes and builds on your screen now, just remember that when you play Urgot, enemy champions can block your E's charge, so if you want to escape a gank or engage on a particular champion, there has to be free air between you and that target destination. So sometimes this means you will have to flash and then E so you don't get blocked. Now next up we have Graves, and despite his Q getting nerfed in terms of its mana cost last patch, Graves is still proving to be a very good top laner, especially with Immortal Shieldbow as your mythic. He's an incredible counter to champions like Aurelia and Fiora, these AD champions, because of the grit you get and the armor stacking. But if you do pick Graves, just remember using your Q now is going to be more costly because it's costing more mana. So using your Q to defend CS is a great way of using it. You don't just want to use it because it's off cooldown, because you will go very quickly. So when your opponent is about to last hit, use your Q in that direction, and also bouncing it off top walls and the turret is also a great way to catch your opponent off guard. Now the last champion for the top lane is Aurelia, and I know what you're thinking, Aurelia is super broken, we all know this, but in top lane she really isn't. There are a few counters and she can get pumped just because the lane is longer and she is easier to gank. In the mid lane, that is Aurelia's kingdom. So in the top lane, you really have to pick it in the right circumstance. So if the enemy team is locked in their top laner and they're in a mobile champion, there might be a ranged champion like Gnar or Vayne, Aurelia can just pop off because of her amazing gap closing. So as a counter pick, she is insane. Now the tip for actually picking Aurelia in the top lane is to E while you are queuing. This mechanic did not get removed from the game when they changed Aurelia, so make sure that as you're queuing to a minion or the enemy champion, you throw your flawless duet out while you are blade surging. Now let's head to the mid lane to talk about the 3 underrated champions here. Now the first one might surprise some of you. This is Pyke, and Pyke in the mid lane, especially in lower elos, is going to have a field day just because of how good you go with cooldown boots and the Dustblade Rush. The ability haste is awesome, and next patch what makes it even more interesting is the Umbral Glaive buff, so 200 less gold. Even though you're getting less lethality for it, this might be viable, but remember, if you are going to play Pyke in the mid lane, staying as close to max HP as possible is your main goal during lane, so that when you do actually roam around the map for Scuttlecrab fights or when you want to set up a gank for your jungler, you are in a strong position to do so. You don't want to be on 1 HP for when those fights come about. Now next up, we have Lux, and with Luden's Tempest, Sorcery Shoots, and then Horizon Focus, Lux is proving to be a super strong mid laner, but honestly, not played enough. You're a very strong lane bully, your range is insane, but the real weakness to Lux is that you are immobile. So the first tip I'm going to give you, when you use your Q in lane, remember that without your Q, you are dead meat, like you're going to die. So make sure that when you use your Q, you back up if you can't kill the enemy champion. And the other tip to actually help land your Q is to use your Q as your E slows around the enemy champion. So as their champion is slowed, throw out your Q, you've got a better chance of landing it. Now the last champion for the mid lane you should consider playing next patch is Kayle. And it's a bit like Aurelia, you don't really want to blind pick Kayle because you can get counterpicked in the mid lane, but into safe lanes that aren't really that scary early on, a free scaling Kayle is one of the scariest things on the Rift. Now the tip for Kayle is to use your W for the movement speed. Too many Kayles will use this after a trade takes place to heal back up, but the heal is minuscule early on. You are much better off using this while you are fighting. This allows you to gap close, escape, kite, all of the above. Now let's head to the bot lane and talk about the 3 most low-key broken AD carries, and the first of these is Jinx. So because your fish bones are going to cost less mana to use next patch in the early laning phase, this is awesome because your early laning phase is your weakest point, so you can navigate out of this stage of the game a lot more comfortably. And the tip for Jinx is to switch between your fish bones and minigun on the reg, because this exerts pressure, kind of like how Aphelios switches between his weapons at level 1. Because both your guns have different ranges, swapping from one to the other does exert pressure, and it gives you the chance that if the enemy champion does move up because they think you're staying in your minigun form, all of a sudden you swap to your fish bones, you get that extra extra range and you pile on the harass. Now the next champion we have to talk about for the bot lane is Talia. I know AP carries in the bot lane, lots of people get butthurt, but it's true. Talia next patch is getting some massive buffs. The fact your Q is going to refund the cooldown when you use it on your word ground, this word ground area is smaller, and the word ground timer is lower. These are all nuts for lane Talia. But my tip, if you are going to play it as an AP carry in the bot lane, holding onto your E for when your support or jungler goes in, or in case you get caught out. Without your E, you are the most killable champion on the Rift, so don't just use it for the sake of it. Now up next, we have Tristana, who I think has been swept under the rug recently because of how good Wits End and Immortal Shield Bow AD carries up, but Tristana is still super good. But just a tip, when you do play Tristana, using your abilities all at once is critical. You are an all-in AD carry, not a poke-based marksman like Caitlyn, so when you do go in, make sure you don't use your cooldowns on something else because you want to have all 3 or all 4 when you jump on an enemy champion's head. Now let's stay in the bot lane and talk about the 3 most low-key broken supports, and let's start off with Blitzcrank. And thanks to the 11-15 buffs that saw your base armor increased and your rocket grab do more damage, this has actually seen Blitz with a very good win rate across the board. Now the tip, if you do lock in Blitzcrank, your hook, okay, launches from your right side. So trying to angle yourself so the right of your champion has a line of sight to the target is crucial to landing your pulls consistently. Now next up, we have Maokai, so if you want to play an AP support and do a lot of damage, Maokai is the one for you. Despite getting nerfed a lot, Deadman's Blade, Abyssal Mask, Locket of the Iron Solarium, Maokai is still in a very good position. But the tip, if you are going to play the Sapling Tosser, even as an AP bot laner, is to push the enemy champion towards your brush saplings with your Q. So when you jump on them, try to push them in a way that sends them towards your saplings in the brushes because these deal more damage, of course. Now the last support you have to consider playing this is Shen. And it might sound a bit whack, why would you play Shen support and not top lane? Well, Shen in the bot lane, because of your taunt, is super oppressive and actually very scary to play against as an AD carry because at any time he can jump onto your head. Now if you are going to test this out in the bot lane, flash taunting is easy and obvious, but timing your Q as soon as your taunt lands activates your Twilight Assault's attack speed and magic damage, and this increases your DPS and one-shot potential. So practice flash taunting for sure, but then practice flash taunting and then queuing as part of that combo. Now the last role we have to talk about, of course, is the jungler, and the first champion who I think is still one of the most broken champions in the game but rarely gets played. This is Nidalee. Now of course she is mechanically difficult and demanding, but here's the thing, if you can actually master her, she is one of the most oppressive junglers in the game. But the tip I want to give you, the further away you are when you queue, the less likely it is to land. So a simple thing, try to time your spear with your laner's CC. This improves that percentage. Way too many Nidalees are going to use this at max range when the enemy champions are mobile, and it's just a big waste. Now next up we have Mordekaiser, and this sounds really weird, doesn't it? But Ghost with Frostfire Gauntlet in the jungle, I'm being serious, this is actually going to have a lot of success next patch. And thanks to the more jungle buffs in recent patches, this is legit viable. But one tip, your E is your big ganking tool, of course, so most of the time just saving it while walking up to an enemy champion will bait them into dodging it, and after a few seconds they will run themselves out of room, at which point you should be close enough to smell their aftershave, and then landing your E is a whole lot easier because they're right in front of you. Now the last jungler you have to consider picking for 11-18, this is Olaf, and I know Olaf has been nerfed, Goredrinker has been nerfed a lot, but to be honest, Goredrinker is still in a really good position, and Olaf is as well, especially into team comps with CC. Now the tip for Olaf, use your Q and your E to cancel that auto attack animation when you're fighting. This is critical, even clearing camps as well. You are all about DPS, and making these animations quicker and cleaner will enhance that damage output. So those are the 3 most low-key broken champions for each role, guys, in 11-18. If you did enjoy the video, remember to leave a like down below, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already subscribed to the channel so you don't miss any of our daily uploads. Also make sure to check out the GameLeap website on your way out for the most elite learning league content on the web, and until that daily upload tomorrow, this has been the